Now turn up.
What up is Marcus with Dynasty Football Dads. We have another giveaway. So we have some housekeeping rules, not rules, but housekeeping updates. It is a DeAndre Swift jersey. Woo! So if you are a Patreon supporter, whether it's $1 or more, I mean, you have a chance to win that jersey here. So, also, kind of a housekeeping note, I'm going to put the deadline at midnight. At midnight, if we're going to fill up the league, and it'll be over with. We're not going to talk about it for a little while. We have a Patreon league. It's going to be a Dynasty Superflex startup. So all you have to do is be a supporter that is not in the non-dollar tier. So you have a chance to win the Swift jersey, and we're going to have prizes a part of the league if you are a Patreon supporter. So all you have to do is do this by midnight. So if you watch this after midnight, this is Monday, so Monday the 30th. I'm sorry, you will not be a part of the league if it's after midnight. I'm going to probably cut that deadline off, and then we are going to start doing that draft. We'll start doing some of those updates here for that league, Superflex. All right? Now what you're here for. You're here for the J.K. Dobbins news. So I was preparing for a draft. I was actually, I think it was like I want to say it's like 5:40 or something like that. I had a buddy text me and said, J.K. Dobbins is down. And so I was like, J.K. Dobbins is down. Players go down. They go down quite often. And some players, it's a week injury, a 2-week injury, 4-week injury. And I have probably the most shares of any player, I have the most shares of J.K. Dobbins. I traded up in a lot of leagues to get into that like 3-4 range in one QB or a little bit further back in Superflex, and that was just a player that seemed to drop down the furthest, and people didn't like, and I loved him at Ohio State. So I thought, man, he's up there talent-wise with Jonathan Taylor. I know Jonathan Taylor's a different running back than a J.K. Dobbins type, but I loved J.K. Dobbins' elusiveness. He's ridiculously hard to bring down. And so I got the message, J.K. Dobbins down. And I was like, okay, just keep me updated. Like, I'm getting ready for a draft right now. I can't really talk and look at news. And then I got another message, hey, this might be serious. So I go on YouTube and I'm looking through some of these videos of like, okay, what is the news, or what is going on? And I'm following tweets and all this different stuff, Ian Rappaport, all these things. And I see the injury, and me being in a medical background, I knew that, knee injury, it's either the Austin Eckler injury. So you're either getting probably half a year gone all the way up into an ACL tear. And so let's talk about J.K. Dobbins about a little tear for me first. Let's talk about where I had him. I had him at RB8, and it's probably not where a lot of people had him. People had him in the low teens, or the high teens, low teens, whatever you want to call it. What's 12? Is that high teen or low teen? Whatever it is. They had him as an end of RB1, high end RB2. He can't be RB8 anymore. He's missing a full season along with ETN, along with Cam Akers, but a little bit differently. We don't know if his LCL was torn as well. It's the outer part of your ligament. If it is, you're going to add another month of recovery. That being said, we have to move him down in certain positions. He's behind the Najee Harrises now. He's behind Javonte Williams. He's behind those two rookie running backs. He's probably in the conversations with the Joe Mixon and Austin Eckler's types. But I can easily see, hey, if you need a running back now, you're competing now, that you would rather have like a Mixon or Eckler versus Dobbins. And so he kind of goes into a different tier of running backs. He's not with Swift anymore. He was ahead of CH. I would rather have, of course, ahead of J.K. Dobbins. If you own J.K. Dobbins, what you need to believe is that you have a 2022, like number 3rd overall pick. Just pretend that is what J.K. Dobbins is, because that's what he's likely going to be. He's going to be a 23-year-old running back at that point next year. So he's going to be a 23-year-old running back, kind of like a Najee Harris type, in a Ravens offense that he should go right back into, and hopefully you just know that he's going to be recovering from injury. So pretend you have a 2022, like number 3 overall pick. And if that helps, because I think that's the exact same value you need to start valuing almost Travis Etienne as well, who they're both the same age. And the one thing about Liz Frank injuries is we don't know as much recovery as we do with ACL injuries. ACL injuries, we know the recovery timeline. We know that it takes them about 1 year to get back into full groove of things. And we've seen running backs from as great as I would say Adrian Peterson the last like 10, 15 years, and as bad as Rashad Penny has been the last 10, 15 years. So think that is the recovery timeline. He could end up being a bust. He could end up being the Rashad Penny timeline where it just doesn't work out and he doesn't become somebody is a Raven, maybe Gus Edwards takes over, or if you see them drafting an early running back next year, that is a huge sign of concern that they don't believe in J.K. Dobbins' recovery. But at this point, you have to just kind of assume that he is the 2022, kind of that third overall pick in one QB's, like fifth, sixth overall pick in Superflex. And that's how I'm going to deal with him as well, is because you know you're not going to have him for this year. Same with Travis Etienne. Cam Akers is a little bit more scary just because Cam Akers has that Achilles injury that no running back has ever successfully returned from. Once we see Marlon Mack and how good he returns, maybe that will help either give us more confidence or help put more worrisome into our minds with Cam Akers. So I have some trades. I think I have 8 trades here. So I'm going to put them on the screen here so you guys get to follow through some of the different trades that have been exactly happening in the last 24 hours. So J.K. Dobbins in a 2023 first, it doesn't say mid, late, or early or anything, for Robbie Anderson and Miles Sanders. And this is the exact situation of like, well, am I rebuilding or am I competing now? If I'm rebuilding, I'm taking J.K. Dobbins in the 2023 first. I don't need to win now. And if I am competing, I need Miles Sanders and Robbie Anderson. Where if this trade were to happen, again, pre-injury, I would have kept the J.K. Dobbins side just because I think J.K. Dobbins is better than Miles Sanders. And now you could say that they're probably in the same tier, but you get Robbie Anderson over the 2023 first, which is you're overpaying there, but you also get Miles Sanders for one more year, and that is this year that you're competing. We have J.K. Dobbins for 2022 and 2024 first. For this case, I don't know where they are. If they're super early, if you have a horrible team that wants J.K. Dobbins, which I doubt this is usually, I don't know why a team would trade 2 firsts for J.K. Dobbins. Maybe because they believe in him more than the first, but I'm just going to take J.K. Dobbins. I think that you know what you're going to get, unless this doesn't say Superflex League. I'm just going to assume that all these are, I can walk you through one QB in Superflex, I guess. So in Superflex, this would be a little bit more leaning to probably even, and you just determine if you want the picks or not. And if it's one QB, I'm just taking J.K. Dobbins. We have Saquon Barkley versus Courtland Sutton and J.K. Dobbins. So Courtland Sutton, J.K. Dobbins for Barkley, I will take Barkley over those 2 players. Just for the fact that I think Barkley is going to come back and I think he's going to recover well. Also, Barkley is, you could say, not a once-in-generational talent, but a talent that is amazing, and I feel like we just haven't seen, we forget about that since his ACL injury. So I would go with Saquon Barkley. Mike Davis and a 2022 first for Dobbins. This is the exact trade offers that I am putting out there if I'm a team that is rebuilding or even trying to reload and say, you know what? Mike Davis is valuable, but like he's a 1-year probably player. And a 2022 first might not be that great. Maybe it depends on whose first it is. If it's your own first, then you're probably rebuilding. Probably not a great first idea, but if it's somebody else's first, which a lot of times rebuilding teams will have more than one first, then I am making this trade so I can get Dobbins. Because you don't want to win this year. Mike Davis, 2022 first for Dobbins. I am taking Dobbins. And I understand the risk there, but that's what I'm doing. Okay, we have J.K. Dobbins for Myles Gaskin, Chenault, 2022 second. Again, this is another trade that I am packaging players to try to get J.K. Dobbins because people are going to be down on him. Now, if you offered this trade for, let's just say, Travis Etienne, or even Cam Akers even if Cam Akers had, let's just say, an ACL injury versus an Achilles injury, I am taking probably any of those 3 players versus Gaskin, Chenault in 2022 second. 2022 second, it's fine. It's whatever it is. But Gaskin, a 1-year player that we don't even know if he's a starter. I think Malcolm Brown will be a part of that offense. I think Savannah on the Med will be a part of that offense. Jarek Dokes could be a part of that offense. Patrick Laird could be a part of that offense. There's a lot of running backs that could be a part of that offense, and I don't believe in Myles Gaskin. So I'm a non-Gaskins believer in Chenault. I'm also not a believer in him. They say, oh, he's going to take the Travis Etienne role. Chenault is a wide receiver that is like a joker. I call them jokers because they are wide receivers that are not wide receivers. They are kind of the Cordell Patterson types. They're all over the field. They are good for a team, but not great for fantasy-wise. And they're not going to produce great numbers. I mean, there was a game that they're like, oh my goodness, Chenault had it was a great game against the Vikings. One of them was just this weird random play where the ball bounced off of 2 defenders, maybe even 3 defenders, goes 15 yards in the air, and Chenault's just sitting in the end zone because that safety came in. And Chenault was like, oh, look at it, I'm right here. So I am not taking Chenault. I'm taking JK versus Gaskin Chenault in 2022 seconds. JK for Monty, this is the exact trade that I would do if I'm a contender versus rebuild. If I'm a contender, taking Monty. If I'm a rebuild, taking JK. That's pretty simple, easy as can be. All right, JK, 2022 first, 2022 second, does that say? Oh yeah, for Barkley, Clement in 2022 fifth. So you're basically doing JK a first and a second for Barkley, we'll just say. That's pretty much what it is. Clement in fifth doesn't do anything. So JK first and second for Barkley. At this point, again, are you in rebuild? Or are you a contender? If you're a rebuild, this is probably a good offer for you because, again, you get J.K. Dobbins, who is potentially still an RB1 next year, 2022. He's 23 years old, and you get a first. Who knows where that will be, but you get a first and you get a second versus Barkley. This might be a good offer for you. I would even try to throw in, try to even get it like a 2022 third or second out of there. I think you could get a 2022 third in this offer for Barkley. And I mean, you could add another Clement in there. Who cares? I mean, Clement's worth nothing. So, okay, Singletary and a third for Dobbins and a second. And this is pretty easy. I mean, the third and the second, it should be flipped. It should be Singletary in a second for Dobbins in a third, but it's not. So a second is better than a third, and Dobbins is a lot better than Singletary still. Singletary is not a top. I mean, again, Dobbins is probably, you move him down from 8 to 15, 16, 17, 18, somewhere around there. So let's just say 15 to 18. And Singletary is probably RB 30. So you're trading RB 30 in a third for RB 18 and 2022. Yeah, that's that doesn't make any sense to me. I am taking Dobbins in a 2022 second. So again, sad tears that Dobbins goes down, and we're gonna have more injuries that are gonna happen. And I had a bad rush of injuries the last 18 months, but there's been years where I've had a 2-3 year period where I've had no injuries. So it comes in spurts, and everyone goes through it, and we just have to understand. And then there's teams that are much worse than me. They've had Dobbins, and maybe they have Dobbins, Akers, and ETN. I've seen some teams at all three, and they're just like, well, my team sucks. And I'm like, well, 2022 might be really good for you. So just start unloading everyone else and start worrying about 2022. So again, Swift jersey for the Patreon. Also, if you want to be a part of the league, we have that midnight deadline. And then I have already sent out some of the invites to the league. We have potentially 1 or 2 spots remaining. So just, again, go into the description box, click and find a tier that you want to contribute to that is not $1. If it's $1, you still get a part of a chance to win a Swift jersey. But if it's a non-dollar, then you get a chance to be a part of the Dynasty Football Dads. All right, peace out. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow.
Now turn up.